Hello, Rama Pupoda. Hope all are in good health, feeling great, wonderful, having a happy and peaceful life. Now let's continue with the next devotee, G. Ramaswami Pillai. There are certain old devotees who may not seem that well known, important, or significant only because they chose to remain in the background. But in their relationship with Bhagavan and in their understanding and practice of his teachings, they are deeply significant. Although some of them were not very popular and, alas, to some extent even disliked by others, their relationship with Bhagavan was as supreme as his relationship with other better known devotees. Ramaswami Pillai came from a family of non-vegetarians. However, even as a child, he could not bring himself to eat meat, and so he became a vegetarian. Seeing this, the rest of his family too became vegetarians. He studied the Bible thoroughly and read the Buddha teachings. He once told me, I have been to the mosque many times and offered prayers just like Muslims do. When they said Allah, I could feel God. He never looked upon it as something alien or different. Such was his background. Ramaswami Pillai studied in Chidambaram, 90 miles away from Tiruvannamalai. One day, his teacher showed the class a picture of Bhagavan and said, this is the picture of a great sage living in Arunachala. Of the 40 students in the class, Ramaswami Pillai was the only one to be so magnetized by the picture that after class he paid a visit to his teacher and asked, Sir, may I have a picture of that saint? The teacher was only too glad to give him the picture. Recollecting this, Ramaswami Pillai told me, before I went to Bhagavan, Bhagavan came to my room. Many people who have had a similar experience have told me, before I could go to my master came to me. After receiving this picture of Bhagavan, Ramaswami Pillai had a strong urge to meet Bhagavan. He soon made his way to Tiruvannamalai, where he found Bhagavan seated on a rock in Virupaksha cave. Ramaswami Pillai said his very first darshan made him think, here sits the single, sovereign monarch of the universe, a Maharaja, a Chakravarti. This feeling did not come to him on the first instance alone. He said, every time I looked at Bhagavan, no matter how many times a day, all those years until he passed away, I felt that here is the single, sovereign monarch of the universe. By then, Bhagavan had already composed Aksharamanammalai, a hymn with 108 verses. It took the young Ramaswami Pillai just a little more than an hour to learn the verses by heart. From then on, even though just a schoolboy, he chanted the verses constantly. Ramaswami Pillai's second visit was when he was in college. Bhagavan had by then moved to Kanda Ashramam. That day, when he visited the masters along with his friend, Bhagavan was going around the hill. He was taking the inner forest route that winds around the base of the hill. As he and his friend followed Bhagavan through the thick woods, he felt that Bhagavan was like a monarch marching ahead with his army following him. The Giri Pradakshina had such an impact on him that very next day he wanted to do it again, but this time alone. But on the forest path, he lost his way and did not know what to do. When he turned around, he found the ashram dog Kamala behind him. Kamala, realizing that he was lost, started walking in front, leading him through the forest. Whenever he rested, she too lay down. Whenever he stood up, she resumed walking. She did not leave his side for a minute. In this manner, she led him until he reached the town and then disappeared. When he returned to Kanda Ashramam, Kamala was already there. While the dog was leading him, his feeling was that this was not just a mad dog. It was Bhagavan himself, who had come in this form. When he returned to Kanda ashramam, he looked at Bhagavan, and Bhagavan gave him a very beautiful smile. At that moment, Ramaswamipillai said, I was more than convinced that Bhagavan would guide me through the unknown paths of life. That was his first real experience in the presence of Bhagavan. He started visiting Bhagavan often. On one such visit, he yearned to witness a miracle performed by Bhagavan. He yearned to witness a miracle performed by Bhagavan. One evening, when he went into town, somebody gave him a coconut and some broken rice. He brought these things to Bhagavan. Bhagavan said, We can make a very nice porridge out of this. Find out if we have some sugar candy or sugar. He was thrilled that Bhagavan, who usually never asked for anything, had asked for sugar candy. During the time Bhagavan was in Kanda ashramam, there were only a few earthen pots used for storage. Finding all the pots empty, Ramaswamipillai started weeping because he could not offer sugar candy to Bhagavan. He felt like running to the town for sugar candy, but it was dark and raining torrentially. The rocks were sure to be slippery. Not wanting to tell Bhagavan that there was no sugar candy, he quietly went to the entrance and waited for the rain to stop, so that he could run to the town and buy some. Suddenly he heard a knock on the door. It was a young man looking truly drenched. He came inside and took out some sugar candy and a bunch of bananas from a cloth bag. Ramaswamipillai recounted, I already knew something extraordinary was happening. I was excited and was bold enough to go to Bhagavan. Bhagavan, looking at me, said, See, the sugar candy has come. We will make some porridge. As for the side dish, we now have bananas as well. Come, let us have a feast today. Bhagavan was a pure jnani, always in a state of perfect awareness. There was no need for me to crave for a miracle. Miracles happened in his presence. Bhagavan's presence was magnetic, just as iron filings are automatically attracted to a magnet. So too, miracles were always happening in his presence without him even noticing it. He asked Bhagavan, I longed for a miracle, and this happened. How did it happen? Bhagavan replied, This happened because of Sannidhi Vishesham, the power of presence, of awareness. There is no interlude of thought or desire involved in this Sannidhi Vishesham. Then Bhagavan added, This is the first time in 1 year that I have had a second meal in a day. Narrating this to me, Ramaswamipillai tearfully concluded, Never can I forget that day. Bhagavan had it indelibly imprinted on my mind. When Bhagavan's mother passed away, Ramaswamipillai helped in not only bringing down the body from the mountain, but also in the burial. He was a hard worker and gave up everything else in life to stay with Bhagavan right from the Kanda ashramam days. He painstakingly planted all the big coconut trees that we see today in Ramana ashramam. Bhagavan had already given Ramaswamipillai the teaching of Who am I? But he still continued chanting Arunachala Shiva while engaged in gardening or cleaning the ashramam premises. It was Ramaswamipillai who established the custom of cleanliness in the ashram grounds that you see today. He used to work for almost 18 hours a day, engaged either in gardening, sweeping, or digging pits. There was only one bicycle in the ashramam. When the office staff needed certain things to be got from town, Ramaswamipillai was the only one who would offer to go on the errand. Thus, he came to be known more as Cycle Swami than Ramaswamipillai. One day I asked him, You were always away from Bhagavan's presence. You were always working in the garden. How did you like it? He replied, Why, Ganesan? From a distance I could see Bhagavan's form, and I was always chanting his name. Bhagavan was always in my heart. Bhagavan was perfection itself, and because of this perfection, when we looked at him or chanted his name, the perfection came to us. As he was always in a state of bliss, we too were in a state of bliss. In support of his statement, he quoted from the tradition saying, Ganesan, understand that in our scriptures, this is called Guru Turiya. Turiya is the Samadhi state, the fourth state transcending the three states of waking, dreaming, and sleeping. When you are working very hard and looking at the Master or chanting his name, he transports you to this state, which is not to your credit. It is because of his grace on you. Hence, it is called Guru Turiya. The Samadhi state that we get established in is because of his blessings. Though others seldom saw Ramaswamipillai, Bhagavan and he were working together telepathically almost all the time. Bhagavan was continuously blessing him with his presence, and Ramaswamipillai was always chanting Bhagavan's name while doing his work. One day, however, he had misgivings about his progress. He wondered if it was a mistake not to actively participate in any of the other activities of the ashram, such as chanting, puja, and festivities. So he asked Bhagavan, Am I doing the right thing? Bhagavan replied, Do self-enquiry. It embraces all other activities. Even while he was working in the garden or going to town by cycle, he was consciously doing self-enquiry. Whenever I met him in the ashram after 1960, he would advise me very fervently, do not get involved in any of those pujas and other activities. They will not take you anywhere. Do only self-enquiry. Once, on losing his keys, he went to Bhagavan saying, My keys are lost, Bhagavan. Bhagavan smiled and said, The keys are not lost. They are where they are. You have forgotten where you left them. Then, as he often did, Bhagavan supplemented what he said with his teaching. It is just like the self. It is always where it is. We forget it and take so many paths searching for it, saying, I am not able to find the self. I don't know what the self is or where it lies. We are searching for it even though it is always here. The self is not lost, it is only forgotten. With the help of such anecdotes, Ramaswamipillai used to give me Bhagavan's teachings. Those who have been to Ramana Ashramam and Kanda Ashramam must have seen the well-leveled, rocked, paved path connecting the two. It was laid single-handedly by Ramaswamipillai. In an English version of Bhagavan's biography, there is a mention of this path. A path paved with smooth rocks was laid from Ramana Ashramam to Kanda Ashramam single-handedly by a devotee. Later, it was translated in a French edition. It was laid by a man who had only one hand. Ramaswamipillai would say, See, I have two hands, but this French book says I have only one hand, and yet I laid the path with it. Wherever Bhagavan walked, Ramaswamipillai would silently spread sand evenly like velvet. Every day, even under the hot noon sun, he would go and even out the paths Bhagavan regularly walked on. He was so unassuming that many people neither recognized him nor knew anything about him. One day, while Bhagavan was going up the hill from Ramana Ashramam, he scratched his foot on a rock. Bhagavan was unmindful of it, but one of the attendants noticed it and told Ramaswamipillai. From the next day on, Ramaswamipillai started taking still greater care to even out a soft path for Bhagavan. Rarely did he go into the hall where Bhagavan sat. He would normally prostrate before Bhagavan early in the morning and leave for his long, grueling day of work. He had a unique sense of humor. One day, when he came into the hall, he found two groups of traditional Hindus having an animated discussion. Let's continue in the next chapter. Thank you. Bye bye. Rama Rama Puppoda.